What up, y'all? This is Alec Dixon with SC Labs and The Scoop. Today, we're going to get into the problematic potential of potency in cannabis and hemp. A lot of labs that aren't even around anymore kind of, in a large way, almost ruin the entire market by creating these unrealistic expectations for what potency is. At SC Labs, we've never been a lab to juice numbers, and we've always led with integrity and believe that integrity will prevail. The potency topic's been the greatest frustration with any laboratory, and I think any real operator that's growing this plant. For many years, there's an economic disincentive for groups to even want to work with a good lab for the right reasons, because they could just go chase down a 50% flower result from a lab down the street that might not even be open anymore. So it's done so much damage to the industry and the market. And SC Labs, we value ourselves in being less of a fee-for-service testing arrangement and more of a partner in solutions. We've never been a lab to give somebody a number they want, and oftentimes people will leave us because we don't, because they can find that elsewhere. But we have the knowledge and awareness to help empower those we serve to get to the goal of where they're looking to go. Farmers need every little bit to be competitive and to stand out and to differentiate. And so working with a quality lab to help you to really expose where you're at and to achieve getting to where you're trying to go is really critical in this moment. One particular strain in mind that comes to mind that we really learned a lot about the topic of potency with, and it's a strain known as banana OG. If you took a cherry-picked top bud of a perfectly grown crop of banana, you could test it at 36% THCA. And in the old days, people would test the best bud on the plant, and then they'd represent their entire crop as that percentage, right? But then in 2018, when legalization of cannabis happened in California, it was no longer cherry-picked top buds that people were representing as their whole crop. And so there were various groups that would test the banana, and they'd be in the low 20% range for their compliance test for the average. And a lot of people over the years kind of have always bounced from lab to lab shopping, trying to just chase down a couple higher percent. That doesn't learn the critical lesson. It comes down to leafing plants. Most farmers remove way too much leaf way too late into flower. And as a result, there's a big spread of potency variance from a top to middle to a bottom bud, right? So on a strain like this banana OG, you could have, a 36 up top down to like a 15 on the bottom. But on that same strain, whenever there's a really methodical, meticulous leafing practice that happens, like canopy management, every bud on the plant gets the same distribution of light across the canopy. So all bud sites start developing at the same rate, and they go through maturing at the same rate. You can create a standardization of the cannabinoid content to what the top bud tests. I think it's one thing to have these genetics in your possession that have these potentials, and it's another thing to be able to grow them to their potentials through these optimal ways of growing and handling your plants. When I think about potency, there's a few groups that really come to mind. Groups like this are definitely cannabiotics. It's one of the top that comes to mind. Fig Farms, Northern Emeralds, Woodwide Farms. I give so much respect to everybody and anybody that does this. Whenever you see like this methodical leafing lead to standardization of potency, you see the extraction yield go up as well. So all the ends justify the means when it comes to the increase in labor costs that happens. But it's one of the biggest things that we've seen that helps really keep the competitive edge for people.